hope you're proud of yourself. Okay.
So this is from chapter 16. I'm just going to read the definition here to start. Traditional approach of assigning, and I'm guessing that I did the right thing here. This is traditional, right? Traditional approach of assigning manufacturing overhead costs by taking the expected annual cost of overhead for each department and dividing this estimated amount by the selected activity base. So this is going back to a long time ago when we're talking about actual overhead and they determine the overhead rate. Applied and actual. So then just kind of more in depth here, manufacturing overhead costs are temporarily accumulated in the manufacturing overhead account. If I go to my spreadsheet.
Can I stop you for just a second? So if I understand that right, so the traditional overhead costs are, say you have 5 products, and so you just divide by those 5 products or you divide overhead by 5.
Right. You're not breaking them down as to complication of product, right?
Right. You're just straight across the board. Is that how I understand that, or is that?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either.
I think this is talking more about the T charts, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going more into this because I don't understand. That's okay.
Jay's like way above us.
Is it? Jay, tell us.
It's back to the ice.
So
It's
we're
back
down, guys.
to the ice cream model, right? Just saying everything's vanilla.
Right. The traditional cost is you're taking all of overhead divided by the number of products that you are offering.
I think you're basically just I don't know how you
Yeah, you're not breaking
Sign
it
it
out
out.
as to complication to figure out really your profit.
So just to kind of go over this overhead a little bit, we're talking about manufacturing overhead. You have your T account. On the left, you have the costs that are coming in. That's your actual overhead. That's actual costs that are coming in. So just as an example, you have indirect labor coming from your wages. The overhead, again, are things that are not directly used up in the production of the product. So indirect labor, depreciation on machinery, rent, utilities, miscellaneous manufacturing overhead. So just everything that's just happening that's not directly related to the production. That's your actual overhead costs. Applied overhead costs are what actually comes out and what you're applying to the work in process inventory. So the stuff that you're actually assigning to the products is a mix of the direct materials that you use to make the product, the direct labor that was used in creating the product, and then your applied overhead. The difference between the actual overhead and the applied overhead is right here. That was $7,500 in this case. That's going to go into selling, general, and administrative expenses. It's still an expense, but it wasn't accounted for in your products.
So is that 7,500 over applied or under? This total is bigger than it's
applied.
Over applied, right?
I had under applied.
It's under applied because
If the total
Under applied because you applied 80,000, which is less than your actual cost of 87,500.
Oh, I thought you meant
So your
actual.
actual costs were more, so it was under applied. Yeah, you're right.
you at the beginning of the year you estimated wrong. You said I think it's going to cost 80,000, but it actually cost 87,500.
So I think it's the other way around actually.
if there's a
The
balance on the
actual
left,
costs were 87,000, but you applied
Right.
80,000.
So
That's what he
that's what I'm saying.
He did.
You estimated 80,000 at the beginning of the year. That's what you applied each month.
Sorry.
But what was the other thing that they were talking about? This is where I was starting to get confused. Was the two things, the areas that not the applied, but the crap. I'm trying to remember what it was.
allocated versus actual.
Yes. Was it the actual and the?
So the actual, so if you have allocated minus actual, and you have a positive number, that's over 5. If it's negative, that's under 5. I don't think it's just
I don't
that
know.
all that
I'll
is
have
is
to
that.
think about it.
I put a lot of notes. Let's see what this note is here. Okay, so here's the steps. I have this actually in my notes too. I shared this as well. I can share this again.
You didn't share your answers though. you share the sheet.
Yeah, you just shared, right, and you had to reverse because your debits and credits were wrong.
Okay, I'm actually gonna go over here for the steps. Let me actually read through this. I think it'll start making more sense. And we can talk more about our questions. Manufacturing overhead costs are temporarily accumulated in the manufacturing overhead account. These costs are systematically applied or added to work in process inventory using a rate determined at the beginning of the period. So what I understand from that is this 80,000 is calculated based on a rate that you're slowly applying over to work in process as you're actually creating a product. And then at the end, the total is 80,000. Any manufacturing overhead cost left over at the end of the period called underapplied overhead is usually added to cost of goods sold. Overapplied overhead is subtracted from cost of goods sold. Okay, so the budgeted or predetermined rate, estimated overhead, divided out to allocate to each product. So these are the steps. Step 1, create manufacturing overhead estimate before the year starts. Budgeted. So basically the budget you have for your manufacturing overhead divided by the budgeted activity gives you your predetermined overhead rate, manufacturing overhead rate. So step 2, apply that manufacturing overhead during the year, which is manufacturing overhead rate times actual activity levels. That becomes your allocated manufacturing overhead. This is just a note, I guess, I had in there. Allocated or applied manufacturing overhead is not the budgeted manufacturing overhead. Allocated is your applied.
I think he's gonna give us a task like we did on our quiz. I think we're gonna have to do all these. Like that's why he's saying it's gonna take 25 minutes to do it.
He's gonna want us to line it up and move it
I
around.
bet he'll show us
He'll help us out.
the T accounts though.
What he did is he would have it mostly lined up and he had blinks.
No, that's what I mean. He'll probably give you all the T accounts, but then he's gonna give you the line stuff and you're gonna have to budget and allocate it through the T accounts like we had to do on the quiz.
As long as we don't have to memorize where each one of these goes.
Yeah, you do kind of.
You don't have to memorize where they go, but you have to kind of know how they flow.
You have to know how they flow, but not memorize. Like, he's not going to give you a list and say fill it in.
That's what he did on the quiz.
Yeah, but we could use our papers.
I know, but I bet that's what he does.
I
You don't think so?
I don't
You
remember
think
that.
In class, there were.
He gave us that list and
Look out.
we had to build those T accounts.
You couldn't get me to worry about it?
On the quiz, it was a lot harder.
Yeah, well, and then he came back and asked you those. So the actual questions was, what was, or, this is this.
Mm-hmm.
And you had to tell them what the calculations were, like the 85,000.
Yeah, you had to give them the numbers.
You don't think so? He's allotted 25 minutes for it.
There's three computations.
3 short, yeah. I told you what he told me about this task, right?
Oh, what did he say?
He referred it to DEFCONs. Remember that? That's what because he.
DEFCONs?
Yeah, he emailed it to me.
What's a DEFCON?
DEFCON is how you measure the security of the country, which you're on alert for your military.
Oh,
So,
DEFCON.
DEFCON.
Okay. Yeah.
DEFCON is 5. Right now we're at DEFCON 5, and we're in full alert in military. He goes, I want you to be prepared for DEFCON 4. So I want you to be aware of stuff. I don't expect you to rewrite the world. That's what he told me. That's what he said.
I wish he'd just say, I know how it's going to end.
Me too. That gives so much more comfort. I don't know. Jay already said that tonight. How come you don't believe Jay? You already said he knew how it's going to end. For his friend.
Well, Jay, I don't care what Jay knows.
No, his buddy failed the
No
test,
offense.
and see, he ain't gonna be.
So I think if you go back to your spreadsheet, I just want to make sure.
Explain
I
why you
remember
failed.
reading this. I think it's important at the bottom at the manufacturing overhead. That's like the ultimate numbers we're looking for. There will only be a number on one of the sides, right? It will not be
Down here.
85 or 7. There won't be both numbers. It'll either be the left or the right.
When he showed it, he showed this like right here, and then this was down a little further.
That's,
So he shows them both there, but he shows one a little down. Yeah.
so just making sure that everyone knows that it'd be one or the other. If it's on the left side, there's a balance on the left that is under applied. If the balance is on the right hand side, like this one would be the 7,500, that's over applied.
So somewhere in there it said it was budgeted for 80,000, is that right? But the actual overhead was 87,000?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they initially budgeted for 80, it was 87, so therefore they were under.
Underapplied.
You really don't think he's gonna get all this stuff and you're gonna have to put it into accounts?
A lot of solutions that he showed in class and even in the chapter show the T accounts already laid out, and there's just some holes you have to kind of move stuff around, but it's mostly filled out. I thought.
I think that's,
Could you post that? Because I don't want to write this all down, obviously.
I will. So
Yeah.
this is, you went through and this is like a correct.
Yeah, you did it right?
Yeah.
This
I
is
used this for the quiz.
I got it right. Cool, that's awesome.
And I have a lot of notes in here.
so
That's
here's how I
Can
would,
you put some good notes on it, so it's not as an attachment? Because it's like, there's gonna be so much that's posted to Slack tonight. You're gonna post it to Slack, I'm assuming. Just put T accounts, title it or something. And don't hit what I always do and hit enter and then start over. You just probably put that, yeah.
do you want this, Adam? So